haven't already, you guys can start downloading. If you haven't, GitHub, VS Code, live server extension. We'll be starting soon. So there's 3 C's I like to think about when you're coding. Can anyone guess what the first one is? Coding. That's a good guess, actually. I should have read it. That's a really good guess. No. Nope. 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 Consistency, right? Why do I say this, right? When you think about coding, okay, like it's great that people can, just make whatever you want. But if you want to make a good website, like a really nice one, Amazon, Facebook, anything you can imagine, it takes consistency, right? Why? Right? Best coders aren't the solo coders who make like a really good AI model or, think from scratch, right? It's the people that come together, that work together, that create something awesome, right? So it's important that, while you're going to these events, while you're doing these things, cool, find things to do stuff, cooperate. Find a new project that you want to work on or a new build that we have, join one of those. Anyone want to guess what the third one is?
Collaboration. Clarity.
I actually figured out the third one, so I'm not going to write it. So that's just the first 2. Consistency and cooperation.
Cleanliness.
Cleanliness, yeah, that's a good one. There you go. I actually had that. Clean. I'm not gonna write cleanliness, I don't know how to spell it. Awesome, okay. So, hopefully everyone's caught up by now. Now we're gonna start coding. Woo, yay, coding.
Ask if everyone is set to open up this.
Yeah.
So I guess once they do, make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Yeah. So, before we get started, your thing should look like this. If not, raise your hand. We'll have TAs going around helping you guys. So it should look something like this, right? Spotify Viz, it should be the name of your repository. You should have 3 different files in there already. You'll see a long one if you kind of were investigating, right? Long lot of data. Don't worry, we're not going to hard code anything into that. It's just going to organize later. You'll have your README, right? You'll see some text, some cool stuff, some things to feature, which is really good. And then we'll have our logo, right? So when we think about websites, right, what's the first kind of thing that comes to your mind? Like if we go to Barnes & Noble, right? What can people kind of name out that they already see? Logo, okay. So can we say image? Let me read this. Awesome. So where is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 things we're going to cover today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Image was 2. Buttons is a good mention. That is a good mention, but we're not doing that right now. Do we see a title? Barnes & Noble, we'd say that's pretty much a title? I'd say so. Okay, put a title. Boop, boop, boop. It's another one. Paragraph, that's a good one. That's a good one. Search box, it's another one. These are all good mentions. I'm looking for specific ones. What about tabs? Good thing that you mentioned tabs. Does everyone see kind of like if you ever go to a website, you ever see those little icons up there? Yes. Does anyone know what that is? Favicon. We'll go on that in a little bit. Say info section, paragraph. Boop. We also have, would we say if we search something, we get like results, things pop up, things we're featuring, you put like results. Boop. And if we go to the bottom, hopefully they have it. What would we say like the bottom's called? Does anyone know? Footer. Thank you. So most websites, not all, everyone's different, right? Mostly have usually something like this, right? They'll have a title, images, they'll have their favicon, the info section with their features, the results section, which is something you search for depending on what they're offering, and then they'll have their footer, their social links, their images. Why is this important? Well, I want you guys to keep in mind of these topics as we're going down, because as we're starting to create it, it'll kind of start making sense as we kind of start creating the site that we're going to make. So let's go. You should be in VS Code. Just the right one now. So when it comes to website, there are 3 basic files that pretty much can create a website. Can someone name one of them? Any guesses? Yes. Perfect. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's a great intro. So we're going to start with that, HTML, right? So we're going to go, right? And do you guys kind of see this little file up here that says new file? I want you guys to click that, right? It's going to come up with a little bar down there. And you're going to put index.html, right? Should look like that. Make sure it's .html. If you do anything else, it'll come up as a text file, and it won't read properly when you're running your code. So you're going to hit enter, right? It's going to come up like that. You should have a little icon. It's like 2 closing arrows. It's orange. If you see that, you're pretty much good. Now, if no one doesn't, please raise your hand. Do not be afraid. I can more than happy to keep going over stuff to make sure everyone's on the same page. Okay, awesome. So before we start coding, I want to show you guys something, right? So for example, if we did an H1 tag, right? And I'll explain those in a little bit. And we put title, right? If you want to see, right, how this looks before you start coding, before you start making stuff, right, is you guys have the live server. I'll show you guys that one first. So you see how it says go live? If you guys click that, it'll actually pop up a tab. It'll open its own live server. And what's happening now is on your VS Code, it's communicating that to an open browser, and it's going to basically display whatever you're coding, right? So you see how it says title, right? So but if you don't see it, that's fine. I'm going to show you guys a different way as well. So if you go into your downloads or your file explorer, right? And I told you guys to remember where you guys placed your files, because it's super important when you guys are coding, because you guys do a lot of projects. If you have them all over the place, you're going to lose a lot of projects. I've been there. You want to go to your file, your folder. You're going to click the folder that has all your code in it, and then you're going to click the index, right? So if we go right here, and you see how now in the file, there's an index file. If you guys click that, right, it's also going to open up the index file. And you can see from there. But I recommend, if you haven't, get the live server extension, because it'll show you as we're coding what we're creating. And it looks cooler. So we're going to go back to here, right? So is anyone not at this part yet? No? OK, awesome. So now we know our code works. Now we know that it's communicating properly with VS Code and our live server. So now we're going to actually start coding the thing. So the first thing I want you guys to do is do just 1 exclamation point and then press enter. If you do it correctly, right, in your index file, then it should look like this, right? Now this is called a doc type. What is a doc type? A doc type is pretty much how the code communicates to the browser to let it know what it's giving out, right? So for example, if we didn't have a doc type and we just put title and a bunch of other content, we're just going to get a static information, right? Also, because we pulled the code onto our local repo, we're not actually displaying that anywhere, right? That's just going to come up as static. And it sometimes works if you're doing local projects, but we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that what we're coding, we can actually present, put it on portfolios. It makes it a lot easier down the line when you're actually making profiles. So always make sure when you start a new file, especially in web development, that you're doing doc types, because it lets the browser know, hey, I'm actually a website. So now that we have the doc type, right, in the index file, you'll see a lot of stuff. Do not change any of this stuff that the doc type does. If it doesn't produce that, then just delete it all and try and do it again. So I'll show again for those that may have missed it, right? If you miss it, just press 1 exclamation point, press enter. It'll produce everything for you, so you don't have to code all that stuff, all right? So now I'm going to bring up the file again. And now, let me just see. Yeah, OK. So you notice how, can't really point to it, but up here we have like a little gray globe and like a bunch of numbers. I want you guys to pay attention to that as you guys code this next part. So it's empty right now. It's a static website, it's empty, it's just regular data. When we go back into it, I want you guys to go into the title tab, the title tag, right? So it's two titles, it's an opening tag and a closing tag. This is important to know what are tags, right? Tags pretty much tell the website as you're coding along, hey, what's in here is what it is, right? So you'll see paragraphs, sections, images, right? That's very important when you're communicating to the browser to let it know what it should be reading, because if you just put random text or random stuff, it'll read it wrong and you'll get weird stuff, right? So if you put like an image link in a paragraph tab, it's not gonna actually read the image right. Or if you put just text in an image tab, maybe it won't load right. So it's important that you use the right tags as well. So in the title tag, where it says document, I want you guys to replace that with Spotify. If I could spell Spotify right. Spotify visualizer, right? And if you did it right, you reload. You see how it changed? It used to be numbers, and now if you look at the top right near that globe, it says Spotify Viz. So that's how you know you did it right. So what that doc type is pretty much telling from the code as you're producing it onto like an index page or a page on the browser, it's changing the title to rename it. Is anyone stuck at this point? I can redo it. Your live isn't working? Okay, so then go into your folder, right? I'm gonna show you actually.
Someone's asking if you can zoom in on the code a bit when you show it again.
Okay.
Just so people can see it.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to shut them up.
Okay.
Like, be like, hey guys.
Okay, thanks. So if you guys don't have the live extension working, what I want you guys to do is go to your folder, right? Go to your folder explorer and use the words that you use to describe that file or the folder wherever you place it. Go into that folder itself and you'll see an index file. Click the index file and it'll pop up onto your browser. Still stuck with like file location. I'm gonna show like one more time where to find the file to just open the index so you guys see what you guys are looking at. VS Code. So it's going to be here, right? You're going to be in the VS Code. If you're trying to open from the index, right click, and oh wow, that actually works. Okay, so I don't know if Apple's different, but if you're using Microsoft, then you can reveal in File Explorer, or you can do copy path, right? Another way to figure out where your files are. And then from there, you'll see where in the directory it's going to be. And then once you find out where the directory is, so for example, this path is in the PC, Windows, users, vMode, projects, web dev. Like it's in a lot of folders, right? So I would either try to find to open in the File Explorer or copy the path. And then if you paste the path, it'll show you which folders it's going to be in. All right. Also, if you guys have to leave for class, we don't want to hold you guys up. We're also going to post like the finish after this workshop on the Notion, so don't feel like you guys are missing out. But if you guys like have to go, there's no pressure, no worries. So, Spotify visualizer. Right, so it's empty, right? If you have the live server, once you open the index, it's going to show you a blank thing. That's okay. That's what we want, right? So we gave it a name. We still need a favicon, right? Because if you look at all the other cool websites, they have favicons. Favicons are cool. So if you look at the README, you're going to see this really, really long link, right? And I'm going to zoom in. Can you guys see the code? Okay. Just going to zoom in so that way people in the back can see. So you're on the README, right? So you have the index, you should have a logo, a README file, and the Spotify data one. You'll see the README file has a favicon. I want you guys just to highlight it, but not the favicon, but just the opening tag of the link, and then the closing tag, because trying to type that out is just a hassle. You're going to press Control-C to copy it, and then you're going to go back to your index. You're going to go into the DocuType header skeleton tab, You're gonna press enter once. It's gonna put a little space, and then you're gonna press V, right? It looks like a lot, but if you do it correctly, if you notice, if you guys look at the top right now, we have like a cute little Spotify favorite tag. So favicons are cool. If you guys want to add a little flair to your websites, do little designs. So, boom. And if you guys are here, then good job. You guys pretty much finished the head of the HTML site. So why do we want to put the head, all that text in there, right? So think of it like a body, right? And what we have up here is pretty much the docu type, title, and the favicon, as well as etc. links. Right. So this is what's talking to the browser when we're discussing things, when we're putting code in there. That's what's basically communicating back to the browser to let it know what it is, right? So this isn't what the user's interacting with, besides maybe the favicon and the CSS. Whereas the body, right, this is where we're going to put all our other cool stuff. We're going to put images, if we have images, if we have information, results, footer. This is going to go in the body. It's important to know the layout of how your HTML is going to look like. So that way, when we add our CSS and JavaScript and all this stuff to make it fancy, when it communicates with each other, they know exactly where they're going to be. So again, it's also really important to, I know if you guys take CS classes, you guys know how important syntax is. It's really important that when you're editing files and changing things, that you're not messing with the syntax. And if you guys are having trouble with like setting it up and stuff like that, we'll be sure to we can always go back and help you guys figure out the syntax as well. But it's important that if you also notice how the head, right, open tag, close tag, it's always important that when you're adding stuff and that you close them off equally, because if you don't, it's kind of like a while loop. It's just going to either hit an error or it's going to just run forever and it's not going to actually read properly and it's going to have a bunch of errors. So it's always important, like in proper coding when it comes to HTML, always have an opening and always have a closing, just for HTML. Is anyone stuck? Okay, Rosine? Guy in the back, right? Can you raise your hand? Yeah. Okay. So next, we're going to go into our body. And in our body, we're going to have the header, right? Because if I actually have the working code, I do not. Okay. Let me actually open the code really quick. Nah, I won't open it right now. Okay. Next thing we want to add is we're going to add the header. So you guys gotta press space a couple times. We're at header, and a cool feature about VS Code is it knows tags already. So instead of opening and closing the tag, you just put header, you press tab once, and it'll do the opening and close tag for you. Another way to do it is you can also just do open, header, close it, it'll automatically close it for you. So that's one cool thing about VS Code, is that it automatically tries to close the syntax for you. But keep in mind, when you start adding more and more stuff to keep the content readable, as well as comments, so that way when you start editing stuff and moving stuff around, you're still able to understand what you're looking at. So what are we going to put in this header? Well, we're going to put three things. We're going to put the title of the website, we're going to put the image, and we're going to put one of the data in a div tag, right? So what's a div? What's an image, and what's h1? Well, let me erase it. When we think of a div, I want you guys to think of a bowl, right? It's pretty much the best way to describe it. Why a bowl? Divs are going to be your best friend unless you have to send to them. Because divs pretty much are acting like a container for the content that you're trying to move around, right? And if you're just doing an HTML site, you don't have to worry too much about divs, mostly because the content isn't being shifted. But for example, if we have a div and another div, right? And say we have some content like Spotify, right? If we put Spotify in here just by itself, it doesn't make sense. But if we were to add, say, Spotify, right? Then we add Spotify image, and then we put that in a div, right? You'll see when I do it, but if we just had the Spotify, right, by itself, it would kind of be in a, it's kind of like a layout almost, and the way the div is it kind of centers and separates everything into different spaces among the website, right? So if we go back to the Barnes & Noble website, I can actually show you guys. So if we go back up here, right? At first it looks like very organized, right? Which is awesome. But how do they do that? Well, if we actually hit inspect here, and we go to our div tools, you actually start seeing some of the things that they're using is stuff that we'll also be using, right? So you'll see on the right side, you see how it says like div. I'm gonna try and, you see how it says like div right here, section, div. So websites actually use this. Why? Because when they're creating their websites, they want to make sure all their information and their content is within the range of the thing. Because no one wants a website where it's like one thing here and it's like a pixel off. Like that's why we use sections and divs to make sure all the things are organized and on the same kind of wavelength among the whole website. It looks cleaner and it looks just better. So with that in mind as a div, as a bowl, right? We're going to add, go back to here. Right? Yeah, come back to here. And in this header, we want to add a div, which is going to be like our bowl, right? And then in that div, we want to put an H1. What's an H1? H1 is, who here has an iPhone and has ever used Notes? Right? You guys use it. You guys know that feature where you hit the AA button and it has like title, subtitle, subheading, heading. That's pretty much what H's are when it comes to websites, right? So at the top of it, when it comes to hierarchy, we have H1, right? H1 is going to be your title. H2 is going to be your subtitle. That's going to be a little bit bolder. It's going to be a little bit smaller. H3, H4, et cetera, et cetera. And instead of just telling you that, I'm actually going to show you as well, just so you guys get a good idea. So if I go back to here, here. So hopefully you guys can see a little bit of what I'm doing, but if I do an H1, and you don't have to do it right now because I'm just showing you guys, but right, if I put Spotify, right, you see how it comes up as big as it is? Oh wait, hold on. Spotify, closing tag, H1, Boop. So I put Spotify, and then under that, if I put H2, if I put Spotify, right? Think of it. No, that's wrong. You see how it's slightly smaller? And if I keep going, if I do Spotify, you see how it's slowly getting smaller and smaller? That's the pretty much purpose of H1s. So when you're creating your websites, it's a good idea of what you want to be the biggest compared to the smallest and so on and so forth. And to check it, you can actually inspect on the thing. And then if we hit the developer tool, you actually see. So this is exactly why I wanted to show divs. You see how when it highlights like the blue? That's the point of the div, right? When on websites, when it comes to divs, sections, and other type of properties, especially divs, they're really important. It kind of keeps everything in container, so when you organize it later and add different features and stuff like that, it still looks really, really good, and performance-wise, as well as when you add it to your portfolio. Boop. So now we're going to add it. All right, so just keep the H1 in the div as Spotify, right? So we're just going to have the Spotify title. And it's going to be called Data Visualizer. That's how you spell visualizer. Yeah, it is. Okay. Visualizer. And then you're going to go outside the div. Here, I'll do it like this so you guys can see. Should look like this. And you're still in the header tag. And then you're going to do an image tag. And then in this image tag, we're going to add an image. So in the alt tag, think of it as like the name for the tag. We're gonna put Spotify logo just so it's easy to read when we put it down. Spotify logo. And then source code. How do you want the source code to read? There's many ways you can use source codes when it comes to images. One way you can do it is actually taking direct links and just put them in the source code link. The only problem with doing source code links like that, of copying and pasting it, is sometimes the links get janky or mess up. So if you try and like go to someone else's website and then take that source code link and put it into your website, and then they take their website down later on, then all it's gonna come as like a broken link, and it's just gonna look weird. So that's why it's important when you have your code as well. So if you have any images that you wanna include in your website, to put them into your repository and make sure that they're in there, so that way when you have your assets and stuff like that, you don't have to worry about losing your pictures later down the line or redoing or re-updating them. So when you have them in, and in the starter code we gave it to you, it's this logo right here, right? It's the Spotify logo. So how we're gonna call on that within the HTML, the image tag, right, is we're gonna actually just put ./logo.png. And what's this doing is this is going into the directory of the Spotify visualizer, looking for that name specifically, and if it does it right, it should actually add it, which it does, to the website. So far, this is pretty much the header right now. It looks really janky right now, but I promise you, like after we add a little bit more, it's gonna look a lot better. So now that we added the header, we're gonna move on to the section. So the next section we're gonna do is gonna be the about and the visualization. This is simply just an about card that's gonna basically tell the person that's on our website what they're looking at, what they're to expect, as well as the buttons we're gonna be including. So how we're gonna add that is, actually before I start the section, I'm just gonna take like a quick 3 minutes so everyone who maybe not be caught up yet could actually catch up. Is there anyone stuck right now that wants a better explanation of maybe what I just went over? Yes?
I'm not stuck, but my header appears in red. Is that fine?
Your header?
Yeah, like the header.
Again, like if you guys feel stuck, please, like we'll go over again. I'll deeply explain like any other concepts just so you guys are all on the same page.
Because like your header appears in blue and my bottom header appears in red.
Did you close it?
The live? Yeah. Right now it's on live.
Try. So it looks like it's. Sorry, I don't. Okay, can you move?
Do I copy?
Yeah, so you want to move the header down there.
How indented? This?
The indentation doesn't matter, but it's, I would just keep on the same thing. So it's not seeing, because you didn't close off the image.
Oh, I didn't close.
Yeah, you see how the image is like the image opening tag, and it's like open and closed?
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so fucking little.
Yep, there you go. Awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sweet. Awesome. So the next part, we're gonna do the section tag. So for this part, it's gonna be section. Similar to a div, only instead of a container, think of it more as like a place where you can put paragraphs, words. You can also do that with a div, but for context, it's better to use a section or a paragraph. We're gonna use div, which is another div. We're gonna use an H2 this time. It's gonna be called about. Oh, wait. This one's gonna be about. This one's paragraph. Okay. So now we're doing a paragraph. You see how I put a P tag? What's P tag? Anyone want to guess? Oh, you guys are so smart. Yeah, so pretty much it means paragraph. And in this one, think of paragraphs as a place where you can put more text. Also, I'll show you guys a cool little feature. if you guys ever want to make like a mock website and just see how it looks, a really cool thing that VS Code has and a lot of web IDEs have is in the paragraph tab, you see on between, if you guys put lorem, right, and you press enter, what it does is it kind of fills it with like a pseudo text at the wherever you put that paragraph tab. And that's a good idea if, like, for example, if you have like the idea of what you want, but you don't know how much space you want. It's a good idea to use lorem just to like use this filler. But we kind of know what we want in there, so I'm just gonna fill that in. But if you guys don't want to type that, you guys just could put lorem for now. But so welcome to the P. Oh, this is not my laptop, so I keep pressing the wrong buttons. Welcome to the. And I just put B. That's gonna stand for bold. In HTML, there's multiple ones you can do. You can do bold, italicize, capitalize, anything you can think of that you can regularly do on a normal website or other textures, you can pretty much do in HTML. So we're gonna do bold, Spotify, visualizer. Actually put data visualizer. Then also, this is a good place to start customizing how you want your website to look. So this is the about page. Come up with any description you want, however you want to do it. This is pretty much a way to just show off a different way to visualize your data. So this project. Hey, oh, numlock. There we go. Large data music. Also, if you ever run out of space and you don't want it to run off forever into the abyss, you can always press enter. Just make sure that your tags are lined up properly. Select. Awesome. Sweet. So we're gonna go next, we're gonna go down one, and then we're gonna go into another div. And as we go along in the code, you'll see why we're separating these into little bowls. It's because as we get along, we're adding our styling and stuff like that. We wanna make sure what's getting paired together and what's being displayed is where we want it to. We don't want, because if we put everything in a div, it's just gonna display everything in one little line and it's gonna look really weird. So we wanna make sure how we're separating and sectioning everything is how we want it to look in the future. So now we're gonna do another div. We're gonna do H2, we're gonna do visualizations. Now, with this one, who can give like a guess of what UL you guys think like as a tag stands for? You guys just shout it out. What'd you say? List? That's a good guess. Yeah, so there's two actually. So there's two tags. There's list and then there's ordered list. So we're not gonna be using the ordered list, but for the unordered list, it's a good idea to have. Because if you think about it, if we ever want to display thing in like a bulletin format, right, then that's where unordered list would come for. And depending on how you want to organize the data, right, you can either do unordered list or you can do ordered list. So we're gonna do unordered list. And then in that list, we're gonna put li, which is list item. And then we're gonna put most common genre, right? And I'm gonna put bar graph just so the way when we see it later, we know which ones we wanna use. Most average year release. Release. We're gonna add one more. It's gonna be loudest song in decibels. And this one's gonna be a linear graph. Right, so again, make sure how you're structuring it is the same way how I have it. If anyone needs to see any part of the code, again, I can go back, explain it. Don't be afraid to raise your hand. But I do not see any, so I'm gonna take a couple seconds so that way everyone can catch up. All right, so now, actually, if we look back at our code, it's still gonna look weird, but now if you look down here, you see how we have visualizations, and then we have bulleted lists, and then we have the about, the bolding, the paragraph. That's kind of how we want it to look so far. We have our image, and then our title at top. Okay, I'm gonna move into the next part. Yeah. OL, so OL is actually, we can actually use it right now. So you see how it has most common genre and all these in unordered right now? How down here, it's kind of just how we display it. It's easier to show you. If we did OL, right, and we went back to it and reload it. It's kind of dropping. Okay, that didn't work. But you, oh, it did? Most average. Did it? Oh. Oh, yeah. So it's numbered now. Thank you. I can't see. But yeah, pretty much it numbers it. Boop. So yeah. So we don't need numbers. I mean, you can, if you want to change it up, you can do ordered lists. It's not going to change it too much. But yeah. All right, so now we have info section. Now we have our header. I'm going through the wrong one. So we have metadata, header, section, div, right? So now, can anyone guess what the next one is? It's the last one, actually. The last one. Exactly. So now we're going to add the footer. So now, where is it? Result card. Now it's results. Div section. We're going to do a couple spaces because we're actually going to have you guys do a little bit of the one part of yourself, which is the result card. We're going to do the footer. So again, it's footer tag. This one we're going to do unordered list, right? LI. And for this one, we're going to include a new tag. It's the A tag. This tag is called the anchor tag. What's an anchor tag? Think of an anchor tag as a way to refer. What's the best way to describe it? It's pretty much kind of like, you ever seen those clicky links? Actually, I'll just show you guys. So if you ever look at the footer, right, and you go to any website, and you go down all the way to the bottom in the footer, do you see how they have about, B&B, careers, all these different links and stuff, or these follow tabs, especially the buttons? Why are these important? Well, when you want to reference people to other different parts of your site, or if you maybe want to use different features, there's actually a cool way where you can actually use YouTube search features and other websites features on your own website. You would use an anchor tag. What's an anchor tag? Well, for example, if we inspect this one and it comes up social icons, span. You see it right here? You see how it says anchor? There's an A tag, and then it's ref, and then it does Facebook, Barnes & Noble. What that does is when someone clicks that link, and why it turns into pointer, when they click it, it takes you, or it's supposed to, it takes you to the Barnes & Noble Facebook page. Why is this important? Well, when you're making websites, you want to be able to refer people to different parts of your site, right? So if you're pretty much on the bottom of your portfolio page, maybe you want to refer them to your LinkedIn, your Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Telegram, whatever. That's where anchor tags come in. So we're going to actually go back And we're actually going to include, this is where you're actually going to include your LinkedIn, your GitHub, and your Instagram. Or if you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to, you can skip this step. But we're going to include, I'm going to type in, I think, the Spotify CEO's LinkedIn, but feel free to like replace it. A good way to do that is like if you want to do your LinkedIn for this one, which is this one's going to be a LinkedIn one, you go between the two arrows right here, and then you pretty much, yeah, you guys can see it, okay. Not here. It's between here. It'll come up white. Okay, I'll speed up. This is the last. Linked in. And then we're going to pretty much copy this, take it down, or down, down. And then for LinkedIn, we're going to do one for GitHub, and then one for Instagram. Awesome. So now that we have these, right, where do we get the links? Well, I'll show you guys. So I'm going to use Barnes & Nobles, for example. So if we go to their Instagram, you see how this link comes up? You're literally just going to click the link in the search bar. You're going to copy it. And then you're going to come back into here. And wherever you put the Instagram link, you're going to put it between the two quotation marks. That's going to tell the website when they click that link, it's going to take them there. So if we put Instagram, right, it should highlight. It'll be in here. And if we go back to here, you see how these links are highlighted? And if we click the Instagram link, it'll take you to the actual Barnes & Noble Instagram page. But of course, you'll put your own Instagram or your own GitHub or your own portfolio. So, but for now, I'm going to put, for this one, I'm just going to put Spotify's just as a placeholder. So I'm just going to copy this one for LinkedIn. And then GitHub. I'm just going to put a pseudo one. Boop. Take a profile, copy it, put it back in here. And when you finish, you should have something that looks like this. This is your footer. And that's pretty much your footer. So you should have 3 links, 2 links, whatever you're comfortable with. Put the anchor tag. Put between the 2 arrow tags what you want to name it when it appears on the browser. So LinkedIn, GitHub, Instagram, website, portfolio. And then you're going to copy the link that you want it to refer you to. And then you're going to put that into where the href is. So now if we go back here, you see these couple links down here. If I click the LinkedIn, it'll take me to LinkedIn. If I go back, I hit GitHub, it'll take me to the GitHub link. And if I go on Instagram, go on Instagram. And yeah. Awesome. So now we have pretty much a pretty decent HTML file. Now, we're going to go, do you want me to just do the result one? And just add it really quick?
We can just give it as a take-home project.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So now we're going to add the CSS. If you guys need help, raise your hand. I'll be coming around helping anyone who may be stuck.
Okay, so before we actually go into the code, I just want to give a quick few-minute introduction to CSS and show you guys the syntax. So let me open up the slideshow. Yep, okay. Yeah, quick introduction to CSS. It means cascading style sheets. We're going to use this to do our website design, formatting, anything you can think of related to design, font color, font size, background color, all that those stylistic elements you saw on our website. We're just going to do it for CSS. So CSS works by selecting elements. We actually give those styles to those elements using CSS selectors, and we're going to go through 3 main ones. The first one is the one you see on the screen right now. It's an element selector. So for example, when you guys were putting in those p tags for paragraph, if you were to add a CSS selector for those p tags, then all the paragraphs on your page are going to have those styles. Same thing for like h1 tags for your headers. All h1 tags, if you want to select them, you just write h1, and then all h1 tags would have that style applied to it. So once you have your selector down, you're going to open up brackets, and within those brackets are going to be the actual styles you want to apply for that selector. In this case, we have the property of font family, which just means change the fonts, and we have the value next to it, which is what we want to change the font, for example, to. So this entire code, like the code snippet, just simply translates to take all of our paragraph tags on our page, change their fonts to Arial. Simple, very straightforward. There's plenty of different CSS stylings that we're going to be able to play around with. And I'll show you the other two CSS selectors like as we go through. The other two are just simply class and ID selectors. So let's go back to the code. Oops, it should be this one, right? Yeah, this is the document you guys are working on. Yep, perfect. OK. So before we can actually start any CSS code, we have to actually make a CSS document. So if I go over here to my file structure, and I go to New File, and make a new file, I'm going to call it style.css. I'm going to make that new file. And of course, once you make that, it's going to open up. It should just be a blank document. Let me split screen that so you guys can see properly. And before the actual CSS styles are going to be applied, we have to link it to our index.html file so the actual two files know that each other exist and they can communicate, so our CSS styles can apply. So that's going to be done in the head. So we're going to go back to the head of our document in the header tag, in the head tag. We're going to open up a new link. Oh, let me just make sure this code is here. Give me a second. Yeah, link. And then we're going to declare the relation, rel, as style sheet. Then after that, we're going to take an href, and we're going to equal it out to the name of our file, in this case, style.css. Oh, and we're going to close that tag. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. OK. Perfect. OK, and that just simply links our style sheet, so now we can access the styles that we write. So I'm going to actually ask you guys to play a little game of Spot the Difference. Oh, did I open? OK, give me a second. It should be in the Explore Hub. Loading. Let's go HTML, CSS. OK, so this is a picture of what the actual website we want to build is going to look like. And here's the actual current website that we've got. So, OK. So I just want to hear from the audience, this is probably going to be really obvious, but just name a few different attributes that we could probably change to get our current website closer to our target. Yeah, background color is a big one. Yeah, the logo size. Yeah, her title color. Text color, yeah, OK, yeah, you guys got it. You guys generally got it. Yeah, we have to change pretty much everything. So let's start simple with the background color. So if we head back to our code, I'm going to try to split screen this so you guys can see as the website changes. You can close the logo and open up. My bad, I have so many files open. OK, so first let's actually select the body and change the background color just as a start off. So I'm going to open up the body, like a body selector. Just write body for the actual body elements. Open up those brackets, and let's change the background color. So it's just simply going to be background-color. And our background color is actually going to be a specific hex code, I believe. That should be, yeah. It's 121212. It's in the constants file in our README, so you guys can just copy-paste it straight from there. It should be labeled background color. And you guys can see the code does change. The actual website does change now. We have a dark gray background. After that, I heard another one, text color. We can also change that. So the CSS attribute to change text color is just color. So we open that up in the body, and we just change the color to white, since most of our text is going to be white. And then we see here, our text color does change. Give you guys a few seconds to type that out. And then after that, another one we heard was, of course, the actual title. It's the wrong font size, and it's also the wrong font color. And also, the actual font itself is wrong. We're going to be using a specific font here. And to change the font, we want to change the font for the entire website, so we'll also do this in the body. It's going to be font family, and we're using one called Inter. So I'm going to type enter in single quotes, and it's a sans serif font. So I'll specify that there, and you can see that our font changes as well. A few seconds to catch up. Okay, perfect. So after that, let's start styling our title then. So I want to introduce another type of CSS selector to you guys, which is going to be the class selector. So I'm going to open up my index file, and I'm going to try to split screen them top and bottom so you guys can see both files at the same time. Is that format all right? Is that too confusing? Okay, that works. Okay. So in our actual HTML file, we can give each and every one of our HTML tags attributes. In this case, we're going to be using class or ID attributes, which we can call on in our CSS file to select those specific elements. Class attributes are good for when you want to give the same style to multiple types of elements. For example, you have multiple buttons on a page. You want to give them all the same styling. You might give them all class of like styled button. IDs are better for specific elements. You have one specific maybe submit button on the page. You want to select that one specific button. You're going to give it an ID of like submit button. That's the general distinction between those two. So we want to style our H1, our title. So we'll give it a class. And I'm just going to call it title just to keep it simple because it's our website title. And in our CSS file, we're going to select this title using the actual class selector, which is going to start with dots. And then the title name, and the class name. So since we called it title, we're going to write dot title. That's going to select our class. And then, of course, if you check our final website, we have the title as Spotify green. So we're going to use that. The hex code, I believe, is color. And the actual hex code is 1ED760. So we're going to do that. And then our title does change to that Spotify green. Good guess. Gonna give you guys a few seconds to catch up because I feel like I've been going a bit fast.
Any questions so far?
All right, all good?
Oh, questions about it? Well, no, all good.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So another feature that you guys did mention is font size. And specifically for font size, we want to change the font size attribute, very intuitive. And there's different types of font units that we can actually use. For example, if we wanted to make this font like super huge, maybe we'd use like 63 pixels, which is a unit of measure you guys are probably pretty familiar with. But for our sites, generally when we're building websites, we kind of want consistency within our styling. So we're going to be using REM units specifically, which is just basically a multiplier of the actual root elements. It's a bit on the technical, complicated side, but all you need to know is that with REM units, our font sizes are all going to scale within each other instead of just being random constant values like 72 or 63. So specifically for our font size here, we're going to be using 2.5 REM, which just means 2.5 times the base font. Give you guys a few seconds to catch up. And then after that, something that's really obnoxious on our page right now is that our image is far too big. We want it to be far smaller. So let's change that as well by selecting our image. I'm just going to use the image selector for that because it's an HTML image. And we're going to change the width to about 150 pixels. And we can see our image gets much smaller. Any questions so far? Are you guys good? Yes? Sorry? Oh, the index? Okay, in the index, the HTML, we used a specific class selector. So yeah, to like actually apply CSS stylings, we want to give sometimes we want to give objects like classes so we can select them in our CSS. So in the index, so far, the only thing I did was take that H1 and give it a class of title. Into what? The website?
Into the code.
Oh, is it? See?
Perfect.
Let me move this down. Okay. Ooh, okay. So after that, we want to start styling what's in the actual About section we have here with the About and Visualizations. So let's also give that section a class. So I'm going to go down in my HTML, and I'm going to go to the section elements, and I'm going to give this a class of info section, because it's the information section. So info-section. These like lowercase, this like all lowercase like dash separation is just a CSS convention for the most part. It doesn't really matter what you name your classes specifically. Just the fact that they're consistent across both files is what really matters. But yeah, like in making your classes lowercase and separating any spaces with dashes, that's a convention. So we have that info section now. And so anything in our section here, all of our nested elements, like our div, our h2, like our visualizations, our list, are going to be under this section element with this specific class. So we can actually select anything within that class using the info section selector. So I'm going to go back to my CSS file and first select the info section. And then let's first stylize these H2s that we have here for visualizations and about. And we can actually do that by going into that info section class and selecting H2. So that'd be .info section for selecting info section class, and then H2 for selecting any header 2s within that class. We open up brackets as usual, and then we can style all of our titles. So if I were to just give you an example and just make the color like red, we can see that both our about and visualizations are going to turn red. What we really want, though, from these two is specifically for them to be slightly larger. So we want to actually give these a font size of 1.8 rem. And the color is going to remain white. And if you actually look at our target website and zoom in carefully, you can actually see that the paragraph text and the unordered list text is slightly grayish, so we'll also change the color of that using the same type of selector. Give you guys a few seconds to catch up. But otherwise, to change those to smaller section text, we can also do the same thing, where we go to the info section to select that class. And since our paragraph text and our unordered list are under that class, we can select first the paragraph. So we're going to do info section, and then P to select paragraph. And we're going to change the text color to this hex code, which is B3, B3, B3. This should also be in the text constants, so you can just go to your README file and copy paste it from there as well. And we'll do something similar, pretty much the exact same thing, for the unordered list. So we can either take the unordered list or the list elements. I'm going to take the list elements and change their color as well to the same thing. B3, B3. Yep, so now you can see our title text has changed to that Spotify green. Our image is so much smaller. The about sections have pure white text, while the smaller text sections now have this grayish text. One other thing that I want to do while we're just in this basic CSS section is to change the unordered list to remove those bullets, because if you check on our target website, there are no bullets. So we can do that with the same sort of selector. We can select the info section, and because the unordered list is under there, we can also select unordered list. And then we can change the list style to none. And then our bullets disappear. And you can kind of see how those class selectors are working right now, because you can see under our visualizations, those styles were applied. But despite the fact that our footer actually contains unordered lists, the styles are the exact same. You still have those bullets. That was definitely on the fast side, so while this page is kind of full of code, I'm going to give you guys just a few seconds to catch up, make sure everything is right. But anybody have any questions in the meanwhile? All good? Okay, perfect.
Boop. So for those of you guys, this is what you guys have so far. We have HTML and a couple other stuff. We'll go into the next workshop. Pardon? Yeah, so I'm going to show you guys right now how to push and everything. So for those of you guys who kind of already have most of this stuff, I'm going to show you guys how to add all your code that you just made locally onto your GitHub repo, so that way it's your code. So let's see. Just gonna do this real quick. Nope. Yeah.
When you get a chance, can you promote that? Because he's missing a line of code in the HTML.
Okay.
His color isn't changing.
Awesome. And don't worry, guys. We're also staying after. If you guys got stuck with something or something doesn't look right, we'll be able to troubleshoot with you guys. But for now, while guys are helping you guys right now, I'm going to show you guys how to do the add repo to your thing. So if you hit Control-Shift backtick, it's going to open up the terminal. It's going to look like that. If you're on Microsoft, use PowerShell. And if you're not, if you're on Mac, then you're going to use Bash for this. Yeah, so it's Control-Shift backtick. Also, if you can't see it, it's like Control-Shift and then like backtick on the left side. Or if you guys can't see that, go to the top of VS Code, the 3 dots. You're going to see Terminal, and then you're going to see New Terminal. And it's also going to pull it up. I'm going to show it one more time. Guys, we're almost done. I just want to show this really quick, and then you guys can keep talking, just so everyone's on the same page. Terminal, New Terminal, right? Comes up. If you're on Microsoft, you're going to be using PowerShell. And if not, you're going to hit this drop-down arrow. Like Mac, if you're using a Mac, you're going to hit Git. Right? And then you're going to go Git init. This is going to initialize your Git repo. It's GIT INIT. Everyone can see that? You're going to hit Enter. It's going to initialize your Git repo. And then you're going to hit Git add period. What this is going to do is going to add all the files. Think of it like a package. It's going to add all the files that you just made into a little box. Copy it, will be placed by Santa. Next time Git touches it, it's fine. Just to double check, hit Git add. Sweet. Hit it one more time. And then next you're going to do Git remote add. Oh, I just hit nums lock again. Add origin. And then you're going to do 2 open and close arrow keys. And then this next part's really important because it sets up where your repo is going to go. So now that you have Git, I'll write it, actually. That'll make more sense. So that way you guys can follow along too. So for anyone who missed it, it's XG. Git init Git add. This is going to initialize the repo. This is going to add the files. You put Git add and then a space and then a period. That's going to add the files to the thing. And then you're going to do get remote add origin. Yeah. But don't press enter yet because you have to attach the URL. Add origin. Not yet. So you should have 2 brackets. Those 2 brackets is where you're going to put your repo URL. So you're going to go to your GitHub. Yeah, so it's get init, git add space period. That's going to add the files. And then get remote add origin, and then 2 brackets. And then you're going to go to your GitHub. You're going to go to your project, so you can click your profile. Oh, this one? Okay, so, wow, where do you find that? Is that on everyone's repo?
Yeah, but now because you don't have the origin of this repo, they have to remove that origin and then add that origin.
How do they remove it?
Git remote remove origin.
Oh. Okay, hold on. Before you guys add that one, instead of doing add origin, because you guys copied the code from the original source, instead of doing add, you're going to do remove. So it's going to be get remote remove origin. What that's going to do is that's going to remove the origin source code that you're going to that's trying to push it to the original one. It's going to fail because you guys don't have access to it. So by removing the origin, you're basically breaking connection of where your local repo was pulling from. And then we're going to add an origin, which is going to be this code, this link down here, which is the get remote add origin, and then it's going to be your link. So your link is going to look different than the one right here. If you guys notice how it's like Spotify to get and it's a bunch of other stuff, you're going to go to your repo. Boop. All right, so you're going to go to find it, you're going to go to your projects. You're going to look for your repo. You're going to click it, right? And you haven't pushed anything to it yet, so it's not going to look like anything. You're going to scroll down, and you're just going to copy this line, the get remote add origin. So the last part is going to look different, though, so don't add the last part. You're going to go to your personal profile. Yeah, your personal GitHub. Go to the repo that you labeled it. So I'll show you guys again. You're going to go here, right? So now you're on your portfolio, your profile. You're going to go to repositories. And then you're going to go to the repository that you had it in. And then you're going to copy this line. It's going to be like get remote add, and then it's going to be the link to that actual origin. What that's going to do is that's taking basically the pull code that you basically took, the source code, off from our origin source code, and it's going to basically attach it to your own source code. So when you start making updates and stuff like that, instead of everyone pushing to the same code base, it's going to be pushing to your own local code base that you're going to be editing. So just in case, get remote add origin. And then it's going to be the link. Once you have that, you're going to want to make sure you're in your main branch. So you're going to do the get branch.m main to make sure you're in the main branch. Yes. So the link, go to your personal profile on GitHub, right? Then you're going to go to repositories. Right? You should see a list or like one repository that you have. You're going to your personal repository, so whatever that name is, Spotify Visualizer, Data Visualizer, and then you're going to scroll down, and at the beginning where it's the code at the bottom, it's going to have this line. Okay? And you're doing this in the terminal. So I would do it like this. Again, make sure you're in the right terminal. And you would add the link like that. So it already exists because we took it from the original code. And you added the files. So next thing is make sure you're in the main branch. So it's this one. Just get branch.m. This will make sure that you're in the main branch. So when it comes to a lot of code, especially when you're working with other people, there's going to be a lot of branches, especially if you're forking things or merging things. Making sure you're in the main branch to push your code, because sometimes you'll make a bunch of branches or you'll be in the wrong branch and you won't even see your code. So it's important to make sure you're in the main branch so when you push it to the main, that it's actually visible and you actually can see it. So once you're in the main branch, you do the next line, which is the push. And this is pretty much we did the add.file, so that's going to add everything. And then we're going to do the get push. And that's going to basically push everything to the origin source. So we do that. Error, failed to push from rest, Rosalie project. HRS. What?
What would that happen to them?
Source code? HR. Okay. So if it didn't work for you guys, I'll stay a little bit extra after to make sure you guys get your code properly pushed. But yeah, that's pretty much. If we go back here.
Do you want to tell them about the challenge section?
Yes. Thank you. So if we actually go back, we actually have what we worked on today. If you did it correctly with the push and everything, and yeah. So if you guys fell behind, it's okay too. Well, we'll make sure that we post like everything that we did today. So if anyone is afraid of catching up, we'll have it in the Notion as well. Yeah. So to fix the error, I made sure that I took away the. Yeah. Okay. So you initialize the repository. Then you add the files, right? And then before you add the origin, you want to make sure you remove it. I did it in this case because ours is already connected to the right one. After you add it, you want to make sure you're in the main branch. And then once you added all the files with the git add period, you do git push, and that's pretty much pushing all the code onto your local repository. And you know you did that correctly when you go back to the repository and you'll see all your edited code.
What about this error? What did you do?
So for this one, the reason why I had the error was probably because I'm pretty sure it's like the reference file. Actually, I have no idea. That's actually a good question.
You just redid everything anyway?
Yeah, I just redid it. I honestly have no idea. Let's figure it out. Yeah? If it was what? This one? Oh, the commit? And the push? Oh, yeah. So, yeah. But, yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Challenge is we're going to put a little challenge to see if you guys can do the results section. If not, again, we're going to post that part. If you guys want to code ahead, so that way you guys don't feel behind, you guys get a little head start, and you guys can just watch for a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for coming. And next one, we're going to be doing JavaScript. So, thank you.